YouTube. And when people saw how absurd it was, it made it much harder to deny that something had gone very wrong. Now, of course, the response at that point was, well, that's evergreen. And I, at this point now famously said, no, evergreen is maybe more dramatic in this way. It's earlier, but this is going to spill out into everything. It's already riddled throughout the other universities, and now that's just undeniable.
Yeah, I remember the early days when this was happening, when I would do podcasts about it. And I think this is back when I was still reading comments. And one of the comments was, why would you care about what's happening in these universities? Like, this has literally no bearing on you. And my thought was, I don't think that's true, because the people from universities are eventually going to go into the workplace. And if this ideology is so radically different than anything I experienced when I was in my early 20s, like there's a shift in the culture that seemed to be a groupthink shift that was forcing people to accept these crazy ideas, and that this is going to have some spillover. And now we know that that's 100% true. Like, Jordan was ringing the alarm for this a long time ago, and I'm sure you're aware of what's happening to him now.
I am aware that something new is happening to him in the last couple of days, but I have not caught up to it.
I don't know if he wants me to discuss this publicly, so I'm going to hold off and wait until he does, because I believe he's addressing it publicly. Has he addressed this on his? See if he go to his Twitter page, see if he said anything. But
I'm having a Wi-Fi issue at the moment.
Okay, he's getting in trouble for retweeting some person who was critical of Justin Trudeau and the whatever board of psychologists that they have in Ontario is bringing him in for disciplinary discussions, and I think they're having some sort of they want him to be involved in some sort of a class or some sort of a thing. Here, I should just read it. And if I don't get, I'll contact him. If I don't get his permission, I'll delete this aspect of it. But so here's what it says. It says the College of Psychologists of Ontario, the government-mandated Professional College of Psychologists, has disciplined me and is threatening my clinical psychology license for retweeting the Conservative Party leader, Pierre Poilievre. How do you say his name?
Not sure.
Criticizing Justin Trudeau, the chief of staff, Gerald Butts, someone named Jacinda Ardern, and an Ottawa city councillor. He is required to participate in mandatory social media communication retraining to modify my objectionable behavior, which I absolutely refuse to do. So they'll go to the next step, which would be an in-person disciplinary hearing, with my license on the line. I'm going to make all this public this week. If you're interested, take a look. Canada has given over to the commissars, something I thought I'd never see in my lifetime. Happy New Year.
Well, I can't say I'm terribly surprised. Ultimately, anybody who remains inside an institution is going to be up against disciplinary hearings if they insist on seeing reality and discussing it.
But the term retraining, I'll read it again because it sounds so bonkers that someone would think that this is a good idea. That this term is so crazy that he is going to have to participate in mandatory social media communication retraining. Social media communication retraining. Like, you have to do it the way I do it. You have to do it the way other people that we have decided the way you communicate is not proper. We don't agree. You're retweeting people who are critical or criticizing the government, and we don't agree with that. So we're going to retrain you how to communicate on social media, and this is mandatory. You have to do it, and then you're going to have to adhere, right? Because if you do it, if you go through the retraining and then you don't adhere, well, then it doesn't count. Like, you have to be a different person.
Yeah, I mean, I am simultaneously shocked. Myself from 10 years ago is absolutely shocked.
Yeah.
Myself that has lived up to this point through the last 5 years is not shocked.
at all.
No. The disciplinary hearings are part of the structure that keeps the last holdouts from doing their thing. And in this case, you and I both know that Jordan is not going to bow to this. There's nothing that they can say that is going to cause him to do that.
Well, fortunately, he doesn't have to. This
Right.
is the most important part about it, is that Jordan has achieved escape velocity. And he doesn't need them anymore. And so this is an empty threat. So this removing his license, you're not going to take away his education, his degrees. If you say you're removing his license, well, I don't think he's seeing clients anymore. He's not really acting as a clinical psychologist anymore, is he?
I don't think so.
I don't believe so.
And I agree with you. I think what we have to discuss is this. There's a question about where each of us are with respect to what you're calling escape velocity. And
Yeah.
in fact, you and I sitting here is an interesting test case because I've come close to escape velocity, but not quite.
Well, you've been hobbled by the demonetization on YouTube for things that are now being printed in the Washington Post, which is wild. Because one of the things that you got in trouble for was, how do you say his name? Geert